Hello everybody and welcome to my Week 10 Teambuilder video against Kudo and the Dawnbringer Lycanrocs. He has a roster of Victini, Fairthorn, Zygarde 10%, Klefki, Rabombi, Weezing, Slowbro, Thundurus, Snorlax, Mienshao, and Aromatisse. So, what's really weird about his team is that it's very, very fast and also very fat. It's an extremely polarizing team. He's got at one end of the spectrum Mienshao, Thundurus, Victini, Zygarde, Rabombi. All of these are over base 100, and that's his offense. Every single offensive member is over base 100. They're all very fast, and they all hit pretty hard. And then on the other end of the spectrum, he's got Snorlax, Weezing, Slowbro. It's a Fairthorn, not Snorlax, even though I kept calling it that. Aromatisse. And all of these are exceptionally slow. So, I think his Weezing is base 60. So there was one of these, it's base 60. I think it was Weezing. Okay, now it's just driving me crazy, so I have to check. But yeah, it is Weezing. Okay, yeah, so Weezing's base 60. So yeah, very polarizing. He's everything else is like, what, I think Fairthorn's base 30 and or 20 or something. Like Aromatisse, Weezing, Fairthorn are all pitifully slow. And then he's got Klefki and at like 75 and Weezing at 60 who are kind of middling, and then everything else is just really fast. So it's a very polarizing team. So it kind of puts a lot of my mons in a situation where they're either can never outrun any of his very fast threats, or they do, and but the ones who can't outrun all of his fast threats really don't have anything to worry about with speed, because they outrun everything else pretty much. So anyways, to the team I brought a team of Shaman, Talonflame, Lantern, Jellicent, Zygarde, and Metagross. These are in a strange order, though. I think I want to talk about my Zygarde first. I don't know why it's not first in the line. But my Zygarde is my primary win condition, and it is because it's my win condition because not a lot of prerequisites have to be met for Zygarde to win the game. The prerequisites that have to be met are that Slowbro is down to 50%. This can be after poison and rocks, but it has to get down to 50%. And rocks have to be up too. They don't have to be, but it's definitely preferred. And if it's physically defensive or Aromatisse, then like maybe a little bit of chip on that. But for the most part, at +1, it deals with everything. 1,000 arrows, Oko's Victini. 1,000 arrows, 2-hit KOs, Fairthorn. And Fairthorn can't really ever do much back to a Zygarde. Zydoge, if its Scarf does put a dent in it, it doesn't quite kill, but it does like 80 to 90. So you do have to be careful about a Scarf Doge being alive. That can definitely make our setup conditions much more picky. Klefki gets O-code unless it like pranks or screens, but if it does that, then it gets KO'd the next turn, but it does make anything thereafter able to kill it. Rabombi dies to extreme speed so long as rocks are up. Zydoge, I think extreme speed does 75 min. I want to pull that calc up because I do forget about it. It's the same thing as a choice band. Being +1. I've tried to type Zydoge. That's not what it's called. 75 max, 63 min. Oh, no. That's not +1. No, wait, that's because it's banned. Yeah. 63 min. So, do need a bit of chip. Or if we get a bit of chip on the Zydoge, then it doesn't matter if it's scarfed. Same thing with the Victini, except it needs a lot more chip than the Zydoge does. Thunderous is unlikely to be scarfed, but if it is, same thing. It's weak to rock. Same thing with Victini, making it easier to kill scarf variants of them. Mienshao could also be scarfed, and to be in range of extreme speed. Pretty much same thing as Zydoge. So yeah, this set is basically made. It can deal with all of his fat just through sheer power, and his fat can't really do much back. And extreme speed will hopefully be able to pick off any scarfers towards the end, so long as they're not high on health. So certain things that can be a problem. Aromatisse, I think, can definitely eat an arrow. It can eat a set of arrows. I think it gets 2-hit KO'd, and it hits back. If it's, assuming it keeps full health, it gets 2-hit KO'd after rocks, which I do plan on getting up. But it can fire back a decently hefty Moonblast. I think it does like 70-ish or so. So I can even take one of these minor roadblocks to my setup, or to my Zygarde winning. I just can't have multiple. Snorlax dies to +1 Outrage, and it can't really do much back. Or dies to +1 Z Outrage, but I'm planning on using my Z Outrage on Slowbro because I need it to kill it, because Slowbro is so beastfully bulky. Even max defensive Slowbro at +1 is taking 50 from Z Outrage, so I need to get into that range, and that's the primary blocker for Zygarde winning is Slowbro. But getting rocks up means I effectively only have to get it down to 62, and if I can get Toxic on it, that becomes even more easy. But yeah, hopefully I'm able to achieve that. But yeah, basically weaken his Slowbro to the point where Zygarde can pick it off, and hope that either he doesn't have an Aromatisse or Snorlax, or they have chip on him, things like that. But it's not a lot needs to be achieved for my Zygarde to be able to win the game. Oh, side note, Wheezing, it doesn't necessarily die, but it's close. Yeah, it can live one, but after rocks, which I do plan on getting up, it's a roll, assuming absolutely max defense. So I may need to get a little bit of chip on that too, because if it does want to wisp me, that could be a serious problem. Yeah, that's my primary win condition. Next up is my Shaman. My Shaman is my primary check to his Zydoge. It also does okay, or it also does well against his Slowbro, and most things for that matter. But yeah, I really just needed something to stop Zydoge, because it's something that can really get out of control very easily. Originally I had Hidden Power Fire on it because I wanted a way to hit Ferrothorn, because it's a pretty good switch into Ferrothorn, because it doesn't care about getting status, it doesn't care about Leech Seed, and Ferrothorn can't really hit that hard. But that meant that I was relying on the Seed Flare to take on both Slowbro and Zydoge, and the problem with that is that Seed Flare only has 8 PP, and Seed Flare can miss. So Seed Flare only does like 10% less than Hidden Power Ice, but if I miss a Seed Flare and he clicks Dragon Dance on me, then I can get myself into a really bad situation. But HP Ice never misses, and allows me to spread my PP out between both. Sounds really dumb, but spread my uses out between both Slowbro and Zydoge, because say I have to click Seed Flare a few times on Zydoge and he switches out each of those times, and then I have to like use a few on Slowbro, especially if he tries to recover or slack off stall him later on. Like, it can be a serious problem running out of PP, especially if I miss some. So I have Toxic on it to hit the Slowbro, because that's the easiest way to beat Mega Slowbro. Trying to set up with the Calm Mind is just to poison it. Seed Flare is also really nice against Mega Slowbro because of the chance to drop Spidef, which kind of just ends its progress towards setting up with Calm Minds. and the HBI and synthesis is there for longevity. Yeah, like I said, HBS is there for the side dodge. I'm not running any speed because, like I said earlier, his team's really polarizing, and I don't really need to. Like, I want to be bulky enough to take on side dodge, and I can't be max speed and do that at the same time, so I'm not even going to bother trying to speed tie the Victini. And below that, like, the next nearest thing is Klefki. Klefki's not running any speed anyways, so I don't need any speed. Oh, I forgot to mention, now that we're on speed, Zygarde with 64 EVs, I'm allowed to run a ton of bulk in my Zygarde, and after one Dragon Dance I outspeeded his entire team, besides Scarfers, and his only reasonable Scarfers are Zydoge, Victini, Mienshao, maybe Thundurus, and all of these Pokemon are Pokemon that I wouldn't be able to outrun at +1 anyways, so I don't really care to outspeed them in Scarf form. So, yeah, my Zygarde's able to run a ton of speed or a ton of bulk because of that. Next up is my Talonflame. It's Flare Blitz, Toxic, Defog, Roost, Flame Plate. So it's kind of a weird set. With this speed, it outruns his entire team. It's going to be the fastest Pokemon unboosted on the field. And what I really wanted out of this Talonflame was a good lead against Ribombee that doesn't let him set up webs. And so at first, I was just like, okay, well, I'll just throw on Taunt. But then the more and more I looked at it, the more and more I wanted Talonflame to form different or function in different roles. So I knew I wanted for sure something that keeps webs off against Ribombee one-on-one. But I also wanted something that reliably switch in on Ferrothorn. So I knew I would need Defog. Because I want to be able to switch in on Ribombee and get rid of the webs if needed. And I also wanted to be able to switch in on Ferrothorn and get rid of his rocks, because Ferrothorn is his only rocker. So if I can just come in on Ferrothorn every single time, then his rocks will never go up. Yeah, I'm able to keep his rocks off at all times. Flare Blitz always OHKOs. But I also wanted something to wear down his Slowbro, because his Slowbro is definitely a likely switch into my Talonflame. It's definitely this Pokemon that deals with it most safely. Like, maybe Slowbro deals with it okay. If he finds out my moveset and realizes I'm not running Brave Bird, then he might be more comfortable bringing his Victini in on it. But Slowbro is always going to be his most safe switch in. And I wanted something to be able to... I wanted to be able to wear down his Slowbro, because like I said earlier, I'm banking on winning with my Zygarde, and for that to happen, I need to wear down the Slowbro. So if I'm able to hit it with the Toxic on the switch, then I can really... That'd be very big in terms of helping out dealing with the Slowbro. So yeah. I decided to run Toxic so I can have a presence against a Slowbro, but also with Toxic I'm able to Toxic his so turn 1, because Ribombee would usually be Sash, I would come in on his Ribombee, set up Toxic, and then I can just spam Defog until he either dies of Toxic or switches out, meaning that he will never get his webs up against my Talonflame, which is good. So Flame Plate allows me to get some important KOs, like always killing Thundurus after rocks, which is really important because it's my only Pokemon that outspeeds Thundurus. And so if I'm outspeeding Thundurus but like unable to kill it, then I'm not in a good situation. It also lets me OHKO Mienshao, which I also don't have anything else that outspeeds it. So yeah, it's my fastest Pokemon on the team, and I needed it to be able to do the necessary damage to deal with both of them. Unfortunately, it does mean I'm walled by Victini, but Victini I do have other ways of dealing with, and I could not afford to run Brave Bird on this set. And if I'm running Brave Bird, it's solely for Victini, because Brave Bird wasn't going to do anything to Slowbro anyways. So yeah, also I'm running Flame Dowdy because there's no point of Gale Wings if I don't have a flying move. Well, it's Roost, but Roost never makes sense at full. So, next is my Lantern. I'm AV for attacks, And this is my primary check to his Thundy. It actually does impressively well against Thunderous. I'm immune to his Thunderbolt, which is really cool. And I take everything he does really exceptionally well. I'll pull up the calcs real quick so you can see, but Focus Blast is doing 24 to 29, which is really pitifully low. Like, that's a Life Orb. So Life Orb can 2-hit KO, but not comfortably. And like I said earlier, what I can really effectively do is use this as a pivot. So say he brings his Thunderous in on my Jellicent. Well, I throw out my Lantern, and I either eat his Thunderbolt or he Nasty Plots that turn. If he Nasty Plots, he hits my Lantern with something, I Volt Switch into my Talonflame, and I can deal with it, or I can just hit it with an Ice Beam, depending on what set he is and what he does. But yeah, I can use the slow Volt Switch to get into my Talonflame, which can Oko it. Yeah. This is also a decent check to his Victini. I really wanted to run Lantern as my Victini check because Victini gets Bolt Strike and V-Create, and Lantern's immune to Bolt Strike and resists V-Create. So physically defensive, it actually takes on Victini fairly well. But it doesn't take V-Create super well. It takes him like 40 to 50-ish. But it can run lefties, which makes it take him decently comfortably. But I ended up deciding that this was by far my best check to Thunderous, and so I went with this instead. So yeah, next up is my Jellicent, and this is my check to Victini, but it also just has a really neat matchup and does a lot of things really well. So in general, like as I've played throughout the season, I've been extremely impressed with how good Jellicent is. It's a tier 4, but it's like so good. It's like impossible to kill. It has tons of utility, and it just takes on so many different Pokemon incredibly well. But yeah, this is my primary answer to his Victini. I can take V-Creates just fine. The problem is if he wants to hit me with a Bolt Strike, because I don't think that just fine. If he's banded, I'm taking like 70 to 80. So I have Wakan, so I have like a get out of jail for free card if he ever makes a Bolt Strike prediction. But if I'm able to get Rocks up, which I'm really banking on being able to do, then I won't need to take so many attacks from him, and I can hopefully Toxic his Victini, or really whatever wants to come in on my Jellicent, and I'm Toxic Hex. So what this does well is it takes on his Snorlax, Mienshao, Aromatisse, and Victini all really well, and especially Slowbro. It takes on Slowbro extremely well. It comes in on Slowbro, it taunts it with a faster taunt, which lets me Toxic it the next turn, and Psychic doesn't 2-hit KO me. And if he has Thunderbolt, which I don't think really makes sense, if you look at the matchup, given the coverage that you would think you'd need. Like, I think you would definitely need to have Psychic just to deal with, I mean, I don't know. Water coverage is really good against my team because I only have a few resists to it, but they are pretty solid resists. Water Psychic looks really good against my team. It hits everything. And it's stabs. So I think Water Psychic does make the most sense, and Psychic doesn't 2-hit KO me at +1. And then I can taunt it, Toxic it, and Hex starts doing more damage. I can recover stall it. Even if it's Thunderbolt, I can recover stall him after taunting him until he gets curse bodied. Worst case scenario. So yeah, I deal extremely well with Jellicent. I had Snorlax. I can come in, taunt it, and then Toxic it, which will work if it's a curse set with Gluttony Berry. If he's immunity, then Toxic doesn't deal with it, but the taunt still works and I still wall it. I'm really worried about that set if he brings Rest Talk immunity, because I really don't have much to deal with it. I can attempt to burn it with my Talonflame through Flame Body as a way out, and as you'll see later, my Metagross is a way to dealing with it. But yeah, these are, if it's not a immunity set, then my Jellicent deals very well with Snorlax. And it's my best check to Victini, although Lantern can do okay against it. And Zygarde also does okay against it. I can always switch in Zygarde on it and even set up on the Victini if I ever need to, because it has really good defense and doesn't mind taking a V-Create or anything really from Victini. So I do always have Zygarde in the back as an emergency check for it, although I definitely don't want to have my win condition taking a hit from Victini, but it's there if I need it. So yeah. Now lastly is my Metagross set, and I think my Metagross set is really cool this week. So it's Stealth Rock, Brick Break, Meteor Mash Trick. So it looks really weird at first, and especially Brick Break. But it makes more sense when you see it as a Klefki, because this set absolutely destroys Klefki. I think Klefki makes a lot of sense to bring because I have a Lopunny that I didn't bring. I didn't bring my Lopunny because he has just a lot of things that check it pretty well. And like if he brings even like 2 of these, my Lopunny's really not going to be able to get much done. And I think everything else I had just served a more pivotal role. Because I have things like, he has things like Ferrothorn, which by no means is a check to Lopunny, but it can protect on a high jump kick. It can force Lopunny to take Iron Barbs and even a Rocky Helmet if he wants to throw that on. So, Ferrothorn can definitely be an issue for Lopunny, like surprisingly. Klefki comes in, sets up screens on it. It can play rough it, Thunder Wave it. Klefki deals really well with it. Weezing comes in, doesn't get to it KO'd, Wisps it, can Pain Split it, deals pretty well with it. Lopunny struggles to touch Slowbro, gets OHKO'd by Psychic. And Aromatisse can even wall it to some extent and hit it with Moonblast. So yeah, Lopunny does have a lot of trouble breaking his fat. He has a lot of fat that just like typing wise deals decently with Lopunny, because they all have stabs that really hit it back pretty hard. So anyways, that's why I thought Klefki makes sense. And the player I'm playing this week is very linear in the way they play. They seem, or at least in the few games I've seen them play in this league, seem to bring the same, very similar sets every week, and they're really all just standard. Like every time for his offense, he's brought Nasty Plot, Sub, Thundy. He's brought Calm Mind, Slowbro every single time. He's brought Banned Victini every single time. I think he's changed it up. He's brought Dragon Dance Zydoge once and Banned once. But like, the point is that it's very similar. It's very little variety, and most of the time, it's very standard. So yeah, I would not be surprised to just see standard Klefki or standard screen Klefkis again, and this set of Metagross absolutely destroys it. So Trick Scarf against his team is really good because he has so many things that don't appreciate it. Like I said earlier, I have a problem dealing with Snorlax, but if I'm able to Scarf Trick it, Snorlax is in a really bad situation and essentially crippled, and that's one of my best ways of dealing with it. I can also Scarf Trick Ferrothorn, it really doesn't appreciate it, but it's primarily for his Klefki. So what I can do is come in on his Klefki. He'll set up screens or try and paralyze me or something. I just trick him the Scarf, and he'll be stuck into whatever screen he was trying to set up. I can just instantly break them away and then set up my rocks and then begin mashing it. Like, Klefki is unable to do anything of use against my Metagross, which I think is really cool. So My Metagross does have my rocks for this week, which are really pivotal for me to winning the game because Thundurus and Victini both really hate rocks. So I definitely need to get these rocks up. I can get them up against possibly Thundy, although that's not ideal. I can get them up against Snorlax. I can get them up against Mienshao. This is also a decent make-do check to Mienshao. It doesn't get 2-8 KO'd by Scarf Mienshao. And I can obviously get him up against Klefki. I can even get him up against Ferrothorn, but the problem is Ferrothorn will probably be getting them up too, which is why I need to bring in my Talonflame against it. Unless I get to a situation where I don't necessarily need my Talonflame, I'd rather just have my own rocks up, which is definitely a realistic possibility. But yeah, that's the Metagross set. I think it's really cool. And Trick on its own is really good, but the Brick Break allows it to keep screens from ever going up against Klefki. And what I was almost thinking about doing is not even bringing an attack and actually just stealing the Klefki's Light Clay and then using it to set up my own screens, because Metagross does get screens. But it's a bit too gimmicky, and I'd rather have an attacking move, especially if I want to be a pseudo check to Mienshao. So yeah, that's the team, and hopefully you can pull out a win.